Serious question, guys, but do you think that Starkiller could be the first Knight of Ren? Now before you respond, take a look at the Sith Stalker armor from the darkside ending of The Force Unleashed, and then take a look at some of the concept artwork of the Knights of Ren. Do you notice any resemblance? So seriously, could Starkiller have been the first Knight of Ren? Hey Star Wars fans, this is Urban Acolyte TV and my name is Prince. In this video, I'm not presenting a theory or a speculation. I'm actually sharing a random thought that popped into my head while I was driving from Flagstaff to Albuquerque today. What actually happened is I stopped at the New Mexico Welcome Center and I checked my most recent comments from my phone. I saw this comment from Brent Stewart about the Knights of Ren and Rey's Forceback vision, and it sent my mind spinning off in a different direction. So the first thing I thought about is, well, what do we actually know about the Knights of Ren? The Stupendous Wave has done several videos about the Knights of Ren, and I haven't watched all of them, but in the ones I have seen, he keeps trying to connect the Knights of Ren with the Acolytes of the Beyond. And the three members of the Acolytes of the Beyond made a brief appearance in Aftermath, and there are presumably two males and one female dressed in dark cloaks. We don't actually know if they're Force users. The only thing we do know is that they appear to be some kind of cult that idolizes Darth Vader. Now in their short appearance in Aftermath, they purchase what they believe to be Vader's lightsaber on Terrace so that it can be returned to its master in death. Now it makes sense to try to connect the Acolytes with the Knights of Ren if you go with the line of thinking that the Knights of Ren are a group of Darth Vader fanboys. Now personally, I've always felt that we needed to know more about both the Acolytes of the Beyond and the Knights of Ren before trying to make any connection between the two groups. I mean, in Bloodline we get introduced to the Amaxan Warriors, which was a paramilitary group funded by the First Order and led by a former ISB agent named Arliz Hadrassian. Hadrassian's brother served on the Imperial Guard as one of Emperor Palpatine's personal bodyguards. Now I bring up the Amaxan Warriors because here's an example of a faction within the First Order that was led by a high-ranking Imperial officer. To me, if we're going to make some connection between the Empire, Vader, and the Knights of Ren, then why not assume that members of the Inquisitorius actually survived the fall of the Empire and start a new order called the Knights of Ren? But as it turns out, the Knights of Ren entry on Wikipedia states that the Knights of Ren are a darkside organization operating under the command of Supreme Leader Snoke. Recall the video that I did on Snoke yesterday, and I said that Snoke is over the military branch of the First Order and the mystical branch. Now, based on the Knights of Ren Wikipedia entry, the Knights of Ren represent the mystical branch of the First Order. So we return to the initial question, is Starkiller the first Knight of Ren? Again, take a look at the Sith Stalker armor worn by Galen Merrick in The Force Unleashed, and again look at the concept artwork for the Knights of Ren. Now perhaps you've seen these pictures on a video posted by the Stupendous Wave, but I actually own the Art of the Force Awakens where these pictures are posted. Now I don't know if you can see it on the video, but the guy in the grenade head mask actually does appear to be carrying a lightsaber hilt on his belt. So again, is Starkiller the first Knight of Ren? And when I say Starkiller, I'm not referring to the Galen Merrick character. He's not canon, and even if he were, Sam Witwer stated on the Jedi Council that Galen Merrick was always supposed to be a legend, even within the canon. Of course, there always is a bit of truth in legends, as Ahsoka says. Let's consider this. What if this Sith Stalker character actually did exist, but not as a Sith, and not as the Starkiller that we know? Now because Snoke comes from a different faction of Force users, maybe they have an order of their own. It's possible that the Order of Ren was started by someone that we would know as Starkiller. This would pay homage both to the original name for the Skywalker family, and it would also provide an additional reason for why the First Order's BFG was called Starkiller Base. What if this Starkiller individual was a great warrior who managed to manipulate the Force to extend their lifespan? It could account for Snoke's injuries and how he could have seen the rise and fall of the Empire. And when I say the rise and fall, I mean the rise going all the way back to the beginning of the Bane line of Sith. Think about it, it's possible. Maz Kanata was alive around the time that Bane's era began. So to the people who keep posting that Snoke is Starkiller, who knows? It could be possible. Another interesting tie-in that occurred to me is that one of the concepts for The Force Awakens was to have a game focused around Ben Skywalker, or actually the last of the Skywalker clan. And we don't have a Ben Skywalker, and for now the last Skywalker in the clan appears to be Ben Solo. Now he isn't the first Knight of Ren, but it is interesting that he is now part of that new order. So before I get bombarded with questions about why I think Kylo Ren did not start the Knights of Ren, I'll just point to the concept art. One of the descriptions says that Ben fell in with a gang. I would imagine that Ben joined the Knights of Ren after he destroyed the new Jedi Order, becoming Kylo Ren. As for Kylo Ren being the leader of the Knights of Ren, we actually have a bit of a discrepancy. The Force Awakens movie and the novelization have Snoke saying that Kylo Ren is the master of the Knights of Ren, implying that he could be the leader. But in the junior novel, Snoke says that Kylo Ren is a master of the Knights of Ren, which implies that master is a rank or title held by more than one person. And because Kylo Ren's training is not complete, it's possible that master is not even the highest rank within the Knights of Ren. Now this sounds a little crazy. I mean, an entire new order of Force users that we've never heard of coming from an unknown part of the galaxy. But it's actually not that crazy. It's the exact same thing that happened on the Old Republic MMO game with Emperor Valkorion and the Zakul Empire. So that's what I've got. And this isn't a theory. I'm not speculating on anything. To be honest, all of this sort of popped into my head while I was driving across the desert today. I think about stuff like this all the time, so if you'd like more videos like this, just let me know. Anyway, I'd like to hear from all of you. So what are your thoughts regarding the Knights of Ren, and do you think that they were at all inspired by Starkiller's Sith Stalker armor? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to click on that subscribe button down below. We normally post the latest news and updates in the Star Wars universe on the HoloNet Underground series. We do fan speculations, theories. We also post how you can live like a real-life Jedi based on the Jedi philosophy in the Real Life Jedi vlogs. If you want to see more videos on Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren, you can click up in the cards and check out the video I did where I kind of speculate that Kylo Ren might try to bring the Sith back in the new saga. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the Force be with you. Bye.